Hi, it's Jared from Strongroots Farm. We're back with another series. And so this is the beginning of a brand new series about how to properly build farm fence. So what we're gonna do today is do a vast overview of the process, where I start and which steps, go all the way through each step that I do when I'm building farm fence. I'll take you through each piece. I'll throw you a little bit of equipment in and out of there, even show you the electrical fence charger, but it's gonna be the vast overview of the process. Then what we'll do is I'll make a specific video for each portion of that process. That way you can save it, you can go back and reference it. There'll be shorter videos, but specifically to each piece of building the fence. So whether you're looking at woven wire like this for sheep and goats, perhaps even cattle, or you're looking for high tensile fence, 4, 5, 6 strands, it doesn't matter. Maybe you're just looking for how to make gates shut properly and easily every time. Or perhaps you're just looking for, how do I set up electric fence? I'm even gonna do a video specific about material and spacing, what types of posts, those types of things. So like and subscribe, come along with us. It's gonna be the next 7 or 8 videos. It'll all be done here. I'll walk you through each step of the process, show you how to save money, show you the things that I've messed up on over time. It's all gonna be here. Come along with us. Thanks for joining us on this series. We welcome you. Please like and subscribe and come along with us as we do that. It will be a big help to our channel if you would comment and if you'd hit that like and thumbs up button. So as we get started, I'm gonna do a little bit of talking about the first piece of this is figuring out where you want your fence, okay? So this is gonna be different for every person out there. If you've bought a brand new farm and you have a survey done, there's a stake, which I'll take and show you. I would recommend putting in some survey marking stakes to help you for your fence building later, just to show you where that survey is in case you don't all get it built right off the bat. There's also some property line apps out there. Some of them are for hunting, some of them are for moving cattle or herds. I use one called Field Margin, and I'll show you the icon now for my phone. Here's what it is. So I use this just to kind of track my progression of grazing around my farm, but it uses Google Maps, I believe. It is a good picture of your overlay of your land, and you can use that to kind of map out your perimeter fence if you choose so, or you can break your farm up into paddocks, and that way it'll just kind of record stuff throughout time. The negative with this app is that if you don't spend extra money, you only can have one herd. You can only track one set of animals. It will track bush hogging and baling and different things like that as far as tasks, but as far as herds and different animals, you only get one on the free part. But step one is just figuring out where you want your fence, okay? So whether it's where the old fence was, whether it's putting in brand new fence on the property line or coming off the property line, maybe you're not even gonna be close to the property line due to the elevation or a big creek or whatever it would be. But that's always the first thing. Figure out where you want the fence, map it out, try to figure out the footage, and then let's get started on what I would do next. So the very first thing I'm gonna do is set my corner posts, like you see here. Every angle on my farm, you know, if your farm is rectangular, you got 4 corners, it's pretty easy for you. But everywhere that you're gonna go, you're gonna set those corner posts. If your farm has a weird shape, go around and set all the corner posts. I typically do this with an auger. I dig the hole and then I set these in concrete. They will be a 6 to 8 inch wood post is my preference. You can do them in metal. There are lots of different materials out there. We'll talk about that in the series, but setting the corner posts is the very first thing. That way I know I'm going from this point to this point. I go around my entire farm and get those posts in. Next, we're gonna go in and we're gonna build our H braces, sometimes called tie-ins, sometimes called anchor braces, whatever you wanna call them. I'll show you how to do these. You're gonna do this each direction the fence is gonna go. And so if you're not aware, what happens is, if this is your corner post, like mine is, this one right here, when the fence is being pulled that way, that post wants to lean. So what you do is you put another post right here, just like this one, with a brace across it, and then you tie in from the bottom of this post here to the top here. there is a guide wire. We'll take you up close here and show you. So this wire, what it does is it keeps this post from leaning with the tension of the fence by using the lower portion, which is stronger, of this post. So you're gonna put these H braces in at every corner, each direction the fence is gonna go. If you have a very long run, I tend to put one of these every 1,000 feet. It's a good way to tie off fence, just different things like that. It's also a good spot to climb over. So if you're looking to put some ladders over your fences so you can man walk over them, this is a good thing to put in. And obviously at both sides of every gate, you're gonna get an H brace. I have probably 6 different methods of building an H brace here on the farm. I have one that I prefer that I will show in the upcoming video on how to build them. But there's no right or wrong way as far as some people use ratchets, some people use spring ties, but I'll show you my preferred method. But you gotta find a good way to build your H brace. Once again, your corner post is gonna be a 6 to 8 inch wood post is my preference. And then for my line posts, I typically go 5 to 6 inches, all the wood posts in my line. But then that cross member, you can use a square one like this. I don't recommend that, they're a little more expensive. I just had that one laying around. Or I use 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 inch wood posts that'll go horizontally there in my H brace. Next, you're gonna run a string from your corner post to each section. It's typically what I do. You can use the barbed wire for the top run or the bottom run if you're doing high tensile, and use that barbed wire or any high tensile wire as your straight edge, as your straight line. I tend to use contractor string. It's cheap, it's springs, you know, it's got a good tension to it. It's easy to use, it's easy to cut it and throw it away if you want when you're done with it. So I use contractor string, but you're gonna start driving your posts. I'll go over spacing and all that stuff. I would not do what you see behind me. A wood post every 10 foot. I think this is dumb. This is a government grant fence. It was here when I got here. The guy before me put this in. This is what the government required when they gave him money to build fence. This is a dumb way to build fence. We'll go over that when we talk about spacing in our video. But you're gonna drive all of your wood posts the spacing that you decide you need for whatever type of fence you're gonna build next. The next thing you're gonna do is kind of determine, based on what type of fence you're putting in, whether it's high tensile or woven wire, you're gonna have to decide how you want to string lines of fence together. So for instance, with high tensile, this is a null and void. You just go one roll of string, one roll of wire from corner post to corner post, even if it's 1,000 feet. You can run one piece of wire that entire length on a tensioner, and it's not a big deal. But on woven wire, it tends to come in 300 or 330 foot, you know, in a roll. So are you gonna tie your rolls together and extend those all in one length and pull it all in one length? Are you gonna go and tie it off every 330 feet, which is typically what I do. So I will come from the corner, I'll come out 315 feet because my roll is 330, and I will drive another post where I think that fence will end. You can unroll your fence to be sure and drive a post. That's gonna be your end tie-in piece for the first roll of fence. We'll get to that when we build that, but know that you may have to put another post inside or weirdly upon your spacing because you're gonna tie if you're gonna do woven wire. So that's the next step. Next, it's time to start stringing fence. So talking about woven wire, high tensile and woven wire, I tie about the same way, but we're gonna start at our corner post, tie it off, nail it up. And so typically what I do is I nail all of it straight up and down using the vertical pieces of the fence as my parallel. So I just use that, put it in a line, and I staple it all in. I unroll it before I tie it, and I put tension on it before I tie it. I don't pull it tight, I just get it so it'll stand up on its own before I tie. Then I come back and I tie my fence around and to my post before I pull hard tension. That way it's not the staples holding your fence, it's the fence wire itself that you tied off together, holding pressure on your corner post. If it's high tensile or barbed wire, like you see behind me here, you can tie it off from the very beginning. It doesn't have to be stretched out and stood up because you're simply putting it in and running it the entire length and pulling it tight at the other end. So you can tie it off from the very beginning, whereas with woven wire, I tend to staple it, get it to stand up, and then I come back and tie that corner post. Next, we're gonna pull our fence tight. So there's many different methods to do this. I prefer a tractor. So I use a anchor system, I tie it, I chain the fence to my tractor, and I use my tractor to pull that fence tight because I like banjo tight fence. Now, that's an exaggeration. I like tight fence, but you can over tighten it with a tractor. There are all kinds of different tools. We'll go over that, but all kinds of different tools to make your fence tight and pull it one direction. But that's the next step. You're pulling that fence tight, getting it where you want it. Now we're leaving our fence tightened to our tractor or to our tensioners or to our clamps and whatever we're using to tighten our fence up. We're leaving that in place and we're gonna staple everything. So we're gonna go to the fence posts and we're gonna staple our fence staples in. If you have a bunch of footage, a staple gun is nice. I tend not to use staple guns though because I haven't found a staple gun that will shoot in barbed fence wire clamps, right? So your fence staples. I prefer barbed fence staples, a minimum of a 2-inch length. I tend to buy 2.5 inch and I buy buckets of these things. You can buy them in a 25-pound bucket. Just buy a big bucket. If you got a lot of fence to put in, you're gonna use them, you're gonna wear your hands out. It's a lot of stapling, but you're gonna staple all your wood fence before you ever start to tie the other end. So everything is now gonna be stapled tight, and then we're gonna go to where our tractor or our tensioners are. So now, my last fence post, I've got it stapled off and my tensioners are pulling it this way. I'm gonna come a few feet past and I'm gonna cut one line at a time. I tend to cut the top and the bottom very first. That's usually the tightest, but I use the middle wires to hold tension. So I'll cut all my horizontals, cut my vertical one up, or cut this vertically here, wrap it around my post, whether you're using crimps, whether you're using slides, I tie, and then I tie it to my post. And from there, I cut one at a time, loose from whatever was tensioning, and I tie it to my next corner post. Now with high tensile, you don't have to do any of that. You simply stretch it out, pull it tight, and nail it at the other end. Your tensioner is somewhere in the middle. We can go over all that later. And your staples, it doesn't really matter because your staples aren't gonna be hit in all the way. They're actually gonna have a gap in them. Try not to get myself shocked here. It's actually gonna let this thing slide up and down just a hair. So if I ever wanna tighten this fence later, I can go to that tensioner, give it a couple clicks, and this fence comes tight. Nothing is stapled in tight. So you can use a staple gun if it has a spacer to keep it from going all the way in, or you can buy the cheaper fence staples for high tensile. I tend still to buy the same barbed 2.5 inch. I use the same staples because that's who I am, but you don't nail them in all the way. You leave a little gap so it can slide back and forth. Lastly, on my woven wire fence, I come back and I put a run, oh, that's hot. I put a run of barbed wire on top. So for some reason, when this guy put this in, he made this hot run right here where they had a horse or something in here. He made the top line of this hot. I never do that, which is why I grabbed a hold of it and looked like an idiot. But nevertheless, I put a run of barbed wire 4 to 6 inches above my woven wire fence, one strand along the top. Same way we'll build the high tensile fence. Last thing we're gonna do at this section is I prefer electrical bumper wires. So I've got my woven wire outside of where the animals are. The animals are over there. Woven wire is on this side of the post. And I put an electrical fence bumper wire on the inside, like this right here. So it's simply built the same way as our high tensile fence, except you have to think about the electricity, how it flows, and the insulators. We'll get all into that on the electrical fence, but I put my bumper wire on the inside, paying attention to the electricity and where it would go and tying into the next run. And then we're gonna continue this process all the way around the farm, from corner to corner, from post to post, everything around. We're gonna continue that all the way around our farm. And then lastly, we install our gates. Now, depending on what you choose to use material-wise, I tend to go metal T-posts in between. So like you can see over here, wood post with 2 or 3 metal T-posts in between. So I would put that up before I put the electric fence in. So I would nail off, tie off all my fence. I may go back, if I built this section today, this line, I may go back today and put these metal T-posts in, or I may continue on with another section. I tend to use the weather as my timeline guide there. So those T-posts I can put in by hand. I don't need to have a tractor. It is nice to use the bucket of the tractor to put those in, but you can put those in by hand. There's less mechanical issues, right? I can carry those. So if it's gonna rain 2 days from now, I may spend these 2 nice days putting in woven wire, and then the day that it could be a little wet out here, carrying my T-post by hand and the gator less intrusive mechanical stuff on my land, and then I'll put those T-posts in. But either way, whatever your spacing is, whatever your materials is, you're gonna put that T-post in and then put your insulators on for your electric fence, all those things. Last thing, once your fence is in, your gates are in, you're all set up, you're gonna go around and do some nice things like auto latches. Those are really nice to have. Perhaps you're gonna go along and put some bird houses on your fence to bring in some barn swallows to help with your fly control. You're gonna go around and start testing things and figure out where you messed up. Maybe patching some spots, maybe tightening some stuff up after it set for a little while, inspecting what you did, and then you're gonna look internally. What fences do we want inside our farm now that we've done our perimeter? So that's the vast overview, and there's lots of other things that we're gonna touch as we get into the detailed videos. You can have problems like, how do you cross a creek? How do you cross a waterway? Should you use cattle guards or do you always use gates? Should you use automatic gates? How far would you stay away from a tree line? Or would you go into the woods with your fence? Do you use actual trees as posts? If you're going through the woods, do you just nail to a tree that's there? Or should you clear away and clear a path and put fence in? These are all things we're gonna have to cover on an individual basis. It's individually depending on where you're at located wise, what your land is like, how hilly it is. There's all kinds of things to go through this. So we'll get into these details as we go through each step in this series. But now that all your fence is in, if you just wanted the vast overview, all you have left to do is to figure out how you're gonna get water to your animals, and then you should be ready for animals. You got some shelter perhaps, you got your fence in, you got your water in. All that needs to be done before the first animal comes to your farm. So that's our goal. We're gonna build this fence. We're gonna show you the proper ways to do it, how to tie it, all the things that you're gonna need. Stick around with us. We appreciate everybody watching. So lastly, before we leave, if you have comments, I would like to hear them. If you say, hey, I wanna know how to do this, or I prefer to build this type of fence. If you've got cattle, if you've got animals and you've built fence, let us know your mistakes so we can talk about them during this series to help other people as they're starting out. Or perhaps you're an experienced guy, you were just watching this video for the fun of it, but you have a way that you think is best. I wanna know what you think is best. What is your spacing? How far apart do you go with fence posts? What is your favorite material? Are you a timeless fence post guy? Do you like the plastic fence post or do you like the old school wood? What's your favorite? Or lastly, what is the biggest problem you had when you were building fence? Maybe it was crossing a ravine, going through mud, whatever it would be. Let us know your troubles. What was the biggest struggle you had to overcome when building fence? That way we can cover all of that kind of stuff as we go through this series. Thanks for sticking around. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you. Look forward to seeing you. Why did I say that? I can't see them. Dummy.